Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be setting up your Kali or Parrot virtual machines for some speedy and just generally more efficient terminal usage. I'll also throw in a little bit at the end on how to get the most out of your terminal. Now, I remember starting out in cyber and watching people's hack the box walkthroughs and CTF videos or whatever it may have been, and they'd always be using their terminal lightning fast, which I wanted to be able to do. And that's what I'm here to help you with now. Now, if you don't have a lot of experience with the Linux command line interface or terminal, then I would highly recommend going and watching or reading through MIT's Missing Semester of Computer Science. It's a course where they break down all the basics on interacting with the Linux terminal, which is really more important to being able to move around quickly than anything. Also, that course is free and will be linked in the description below. Quickly before we get started, I'd like to give a quick shout out to my friends over at 0 Point Security. If you've been in the market for training or going after a certification, you should really check out the options that 0 Point has in store. From courses that go over how to get into red teaming to subjects like malware and C2 development, they got you covered. In addition to the stellar course content, their certifications are industry recognized and top-notch. If you check them out, be sure to use the affiliate link in the description below, as it not only helps out my friends over at 0 Point, it also helps out the channel, which lets me put more time and money into the videos and basically just therefore improve the quality for you guys. So it's a win-win on both fronts. And I'd like to thank 0 Point Security again for being a continued partner of this channel. And with that out of the way, let's go ahead and jump right into the video. One last thing too, before we get into the step-by-step, I want to point out that my GitHub repo with all my configs will be linked in the description below. That way you can just copy the contents of my files and paste it into yours. Fair warning though, my configs are specialized for my own Kali installation, so you may need to tweak some things like file paths, aliases, etc., just to fit other operating systems or just your own system in general. Okay, so let's go ahead and get right into it and switch the view here. Okay, so what I have here is a fresh install of Kali Linux. This will generally work for ParrotOS as well, because I know that's also a popular pen testing distribution, but I'll be using Kali for the video today. And first things first, we need to get a configuration manager for our shell, which is ZSH. The one that we're going to be using is called OhmyZSH. The link to OhmyZSH is in the description below, as is everything else mentioned in the video, but let's go ahead and install OhmyZSH. All we need to do is go to the website and then paste the command that pops up from the website into our terminal, which looks just like so. You will want to basically hit enter, let that run, and then we have OhmyZSH installed. Once we do that, we need to change a couple of different things. The first thing we want to change is the theme in the ZSHRC file. The ZSHRC file is basically what holds all of the settings for your ZSH shell session. And you can change the theme to any of the listed themes that are in the GitHub repository that is once again linked in the description, but I'm going to go with the Pheno theme because it's my personal favorite. So to do that, all we need to do is do sudo nano and then .zshrc. That will pull up the file, and then we just need to come down to where it says ZSH theme, and you can change it to the name. Once again, I'm going to go with Pheno. Make sure to write that file and then quit. The next thing that we're going to want to do is to add some plugins to this file that I find super handy when I'm doing a pen test or taking a certification exam. The couple of pertinent plugins that I basically always use are Git, ZSH syntax highlighting, colorize, GRC, and Tmux. That's basically the core of it. So let's quickly install the non-default one so that we can add all of our plugins to the ZSHRC file all at once. To install that non-default one, basically you're just going to grab the link next to ZSH syntax highlighting in the description below, and then you're going to scroll down to where you see a link to install.md. You're going to click on install.md, and then you're once again going to scroll down until you see the command underneath what is titled oh my ZSH. You're just going to grab that command and then copy and paste that into the terminal, let that run to completion, and then we should be set up. So it should look something like this. Just going to copy that command and then we just paste it in, and we will let this run until completion. And with that complete, we can actually reopen the ZSHRC file and then add all of our plugins separated by spaces. That's going to look something like this. So we open the ZSHRC file and we're going to scroll down to our plugins, which is located right here. Now, I said I use Git is the first one. The next one is ZSH syntax highlighting, and that is the second one that we just downloaded. The third is colorize. Fourth is GRC, and the last one is Tmux. So you should have a little list there going on, and then boom, we're done. Now we just need to add a couple more lines to that file for our plugins to work. The first one for the colorize plugin, we just need to add the line that I'm going to throw up on screen right now so that our output is colored and easier to read. And this actually works with a bunch of default programs like ifconfig, ping, nmap, so on and so forth. So to do that, we just need to reopen the ZSHRC file and then jump down to the bottom here. So we're just going to paste that line in there, which will set the output to colorful. The next line that is actually going to go up on screen right now is the line that we need to enter after this one. And basically what it's going to do is it's going to allow us to have window management on startup via Tmux. And Tmux is going to be the bread and butter of this setup because it's going to allow us to set up multiple windows and quickly navigate between our tabs and run multiple processes all in tandem. Now, with those two lines taken care of, we can save and exit the file once again. Now, we just need to make sure we have all of our programs installed, and we can use the apt package manager to do so. The first one we want to check is Tmux. So we can just do sudo apt install Tmux. And if you get that message, you already have it installed, which is awesome. So that's number one. The next program that we want to check is going to be GRC. And we can basically just use the up arrow and then use GRC instead of Tmux and see if we have it installed. In this case, we don't on this fresh install, so it'll go ahead and grab it for us. And then the next one that we want to do is a little program called exa. And exa is going to be our replacement for the ls command. So go ahead and run the sudo apt install exa command here. The last program is ccat. This will check the file you're trying to cat out and then see if it can apply syntax highlighting to the output so that you can more clearly read the output. This is an absolutely incredible tool to use when digging through source code from a recovered target. So to install this one, we can go ahead and do the same thing, just go up a couple of times here. And instead of doing ccat, you want to do ccrypt and then go ahead and hit enter. And now this part is optional, but we're going to go ahead and install Kitty. And Kitty is a GPU-enabled terminal emulator which will make commands process significantly faster if your computer has the power for it. That can be installed with sudo apt install Kitty. Now, once that runs the completion and installs, or if you just chose to not install Kitty, we need to add a couple more lines to the ZSHRC file. Now you can head over to my GitHub, which is linked in the description, and check out the aliases in my .zshrc file and pick if you want to use them. But basically, they are just so that you can continue using the standard Linux CLI syntax such as ls, but exa will actually be running under the hood to give us more powerful input, for example. And I'll just go ahead and paste those into the file so you guys can go and pick which ones you want or if you want to use all of them, but I'm going to go ahead and paste some of mine. And to do that, we're just going to edit the ZSHRC file once again, and I like to put these all the way at the bottom. So we're just going to go all the way to the bottom and then create a comment that says aliases, and then I'm going to paste these in. We'll see how this actually works in 1 second, but we just need to write the file and then quit, and then we're good to go. Now, the thing that we need to do after that, and this is just specifically if you installed Kitty, is we need to configure it. And to do that, we need to go to the home directory and then cd to the .config directory, and then we need to cd to the Kitty folder. Now, if you don't have it, like we don't here, that's an easy fix. We can just make the directory and then cd to it. And now we need to make the file kitty.conf. So we'll just do touch kitty.conf. Now, with that created, we'll go ahead and open the file, and I'm going to paste once again this file from my GitHub onto the contents of the file that we just created on the VM. Now, this one I recommend just using what I have and then tweaking it later, because I could make an entire video about how to configure Kitty and the different options that you could use. But again, for the sake of time, I would recommend just using what I have on my GitHub here. So to do that, we just need to do sudo nano and then kitty.conf. And then we'll just go ahead and paste that in. So as you can see, this is a pretty long, long list here, but we just need to do Control-O, hit Enter, and then Control-X. That is all good to go. And then lastly, before we restart everything and see the beautiful changes that we've made so far, we just need to adjust some Tmux settings so that everything is more usable, because Tmux doesn't come with the most intuitive keybind straight out of the box. And honestly, this is where the real efficiency piece comes into play. Tmux is what separates really quick terminal use from really slow terminal use and really maximizing your space on your machine. So to do this, we need to go back to our home directory actually, and you can just use the shortcut CD that'll take you straight to your home directory. Once again, I would highly recommend just going and grabbing my file, and then I'll explain some of my keybinds that make everything a little bit more simple in 1 second. So once we're back in our home directory, we need to make a file called .tmux.conf. And once that is made, we can then use sudo nano.tmux.conf to edit the file. And again, I'm just pasting all of my contents in here. I highly recommend you do the same thing. So with that in there, we can just write the file and then quit. So with all of those configurations written to our machine, we're going to go ahead and restart the machine. Sometimes you just need to log out. It's a lot safer to just restart the machine, and then I will be back with you guys in 1 second to see the awesome new setup we're working with. And now after restart, we can basically see that after kicking up Kitty here, we have this cool Tokyo Nights theme, and I'm actually going to shrink my size here in the corner so you guys can really get a full grasp of what we're working with. I'm going to put myself up here just so that all makes sense. But you can see now that we have a cool Tokyo Nights theme. Our terminal prompt is giving us a little bit more information color-wise, and we're going to just use some of the programs that I was talking about, and I'm going to explain why they're so pertinent. So we used exa to replace our output, and that is now replacing as ls with our alias. So if we use ls here, we should get some cool output. So now we have little icons next. We can see where the directories actually are. You get colors on certain things. If you do LL, you get your permissions here. So it highlights the permissions, so it's a little bit more readable. You get the owners in the middle column there, and you can just see everything a little bit better. It saves my eyes a lot, and I like it a ton. The next thing that we did was we replaced our cat command. So let's go ahead and cat out a file that has a syntax to it, like a configuration file. And, funny enough, we just wrote one. So we have the Tmux file, and I'm actually going to pause for 1 second too. That syntax highlighting that you saw, we just installed that. So you'll see that the command language interpreter will know if a binary is on path. So we don't have a binary called CA, but we do have a binary called cat. And our binary cat is actually alias to something else, but it'll turn green and tell you, hey, that's a good command. So it's just useful when you're looking for certain commands that are alias to something. It keeps your syntax in check. That way you don't make a little error and type like nnap instead of nmap, right? So cool little thing there, but let's go ahead and try this out. So if we cat this file, you'll see that we now get this cool syntax highlighting as we go along here. So that's a super useful one. And then basically the last thing to talk about is going to be Tmux. So Tmux actually is used by a keybind system, and it basically comes by default with Control B being your command or super key. Now, I changed that to Control A just because it's a lot shorter on the actual keyboard. So Control A, anytime you press that, is going to put you into what is called like a command mode, so you can run commands. And now let me show you some of the power of Tmux here. So I have a couple of important things that we can go through. So we'll do Control A, and I changed the setting to split your terminal vertically to the pipe command. So it kind of looks like, you know, a vertical split. So you just hit Control A, let go of your keyboard, and then you type a pipe character, and now we have side-by-side terminal windows. And I also changed the navigation command. So you just do Control A and then your arrow keys to hop back and forth. So Control A, arrow key, Control A, arrow key, and you can move back and forth super quick. Now, to split things horizontally, I just figured, you know, what makes sense other than the horizontal character or the minus sign. So if we hop back over on this side and we do Control A and then minus, we get a third terminal. Now, this is super useful if you want to have a bunch of information displayed all in one pane. Say you're starting a reverse shell and you need to figure out your own IP address, but you also want to have your listener right there and you don't want to hop between tabs. So you could do something like ifconfig in this window, and you'll even see that that was made and colored, but I'm going to shrink that just so you guys can see. So the output of ifconfig is colored now. So you can grab your own IP address in that window, and then you can come over here, and I'm going to make this bigger again just so everything can be seen. And then you could start your netcat listener on this window. So super nifty. But what if you want multiple tabs? Say you need to start a VPN, like an open VPN connection. Then you could do Control A and then C to start another tab, and then you just use Control A and the numbers. You'll see that each of your tabs are enabled down here, and you can actually just click them if that's easier. But if you don't want to take your hands off the keyboard, I'm on tab 2, I could just go to tab 1. And now you could imagine if you're a tab maniac, how you could get a bunch of tabs created and you'd lose track of where things are at. So if you do Control A, comma, then you can rename the window here at the bottom. So let's just call this like maybe notes plus working window. And now you'll see that my tab 1, I know that this is all of my working windows. So then I could do Control A2, and maybe we'll just like say this one's reserved for a VPN connection. But that's just an example. So then you can see how jumping back and forth and using all this can increase your speed in the command line. And one last thing too before we jump and run away, I just want to get over copying and pasting in Tmux, because that is a huge problem that people have all the time. And I made a couple edits to the tmux.conf file that make copy and pasting a little bit easier. So the way that I have it set is you're going to do Control A and then the open square bracket. That is the standard start. It kind of puts you into navigation mode, right? So we'll go ahead and do that. And then you can see that this little 0 out of 184 will pop up in the right corner. That'll show you that you're in navigation mode, and you can move your cursor basically anywhere, right? So now that we're there, what we do to copy here is you basically just hit space where you want to start copying at. And then you can copy, say, we'll just copy this line up to that, right? And then once you have everything selected, the space bar basically starts your selection. You just hit enter, and that basically yanks all that text that was selected. And then all we need to do is Control A and then close off your square bracket. So just hit the close square bracket and then it pastes that text. And that's copy and pasting in Tmux made super, super simple, so you can do these things super fast. But with all that out of the way, we've basically covered how to, one, get a really cool looking terminal, and two, how to move around quickly in the terminal, leverage Tmux to do things super fast. So I hope you guys found this useful. If you did, please sure to drop a like and subscribe to the channel, maybe share it to your friends that could use this. But other than that, I appreciate you guys sticking around for the duration of the video, and I will catch you in the next one. Peace.